Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Athletic School podcast. Today, our guest speaker is Nick Jonsson, co founder and managing director of Executives Global Network. Nick is also the author of best selling book Executive Loneliness, where he addressed mental health challenges in both sports and business, inspiring resilience and leadership. Nick, thanks so much for joining me. I know we are in different time zones, so thanks for finding the time to do it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Igor.
Yeah. So to get started, I know you did the Ironman in 2021, and you had really good results. I just got into running a little bit, longer than usual. As a goalkeeper for soccer, I didn't run at all. Um, so has been challenging for me. Tell me about that preparation for the Ironman. First of all, why did you do it? How did you decide doing it?
Yeah, so I wanted to get the more fit around year 2010, and I also started with running. But as I increased the mileage of the running, I started to get injured because if you just do one sport and running can be quite heavy on the body. So as I got injured and I went to physio and I did some work to get better, then I was also looking at how can I, do some sport that is easier on the body, and everyone recommended me to diversify yourself. So I then looked at triathlon, where you are swimming, cycling, and running. So at least you divide your time and effort into three sports. So that's what got me into it in the first place. And I started slowly around 2014, and then I've been improving myself by working with the best coaches and just being really, really passionate about the sport. And it's amazing. I've turned 49 years this week, and I keep getting faster. So it's never too late to grow young.
Yeah, of course. That's awesome. And just people that are listening to us, how does the Ironman works? How many miles, how many kilometers of each?
Yeah, so the Ironman is a sport where you first swim a 2.4 mile swim in the ocean. Typically, it can be in the lake sometimes, but often in the ocean. Then it's a 112-mile bike ride, and then you run the full marathon at the end, 26.2 miles. So it's all in one row, all in one day, and you try to switch between each discipline as soon as possible. That's also part of the sport.
Yeah. So and how does that preparation works, right? Because I mean, that's you're going to your extreme there, and I cannot even imagine how the preparation works in order to be able to do that, back to back, all of them. Like just running a marathon, it's a lot, right? But then you have to ride the bike, and then you also have to swim. And how does that preparation works? Did you ever think like, man, you know what, let me just not do it because it's too hard? I don't know. How was your mind? What was going on in your mind?
Yeah, so working with coaches, they give you a good training plan, and with all the wearable devices and so on, the training plan is on one of the sports watches. You get some apps where it's uploaded. My coach I have now, he upload my program every Sunday night when he has looked at my past week's result and how I'm performing, and you measure your heart rate and you can see everything. Then I get the plan for the week ahead, and then I basically follow that plan without arguing. It's he should know better. He was 8 times the top 10 world champ in the world championship in Hawaii, Kona. So I just trust the plan and follow it. And when I do that, magic happens. But it's many times perhaps when you feel like you don't want to do it, but most of the time I do it anyway. It doesn't matter if it's raining or if I'm tired. The work has to be done. So yesterday, for example, was a long bike ride in the morning. I cycled about 60 miles in the morning, and then I ran, went for a run last night. This morning I have a long run, which I will run about 15, 17 miles this morning after our call. And so the training goes on.
Yeah, yeah, I love how, I mean, sometimes you just have to get the job done, right? There's if you don't do it, nobody's gonna do it for you. So, um, and bringing a lot of the people that are listening to us, they are. maybe student athletes that they are trying to balance sports and school, and sometimes they are about to get a job, and I know you also have a job, right? You're doing all of that, but then you have to go to your job as well, and I know you are in different causes as well. How to balance these two, because I mean, one thing is you running 5K 3 times a week, right? But when you are running 50 miles, and then tomorrow you have to get up and go to work, and then for some people have kids, and then they have girlfriends and boyfriends, and you have to live your life, right? Most of the time, we're not only doing the sport that we're doing. So how to find that balance? How do you do it?
Yeah, that's a good one, and I believe that it's very important to look after ourselves first before we even try to do something else. And I'm trying to do around 3.5 hours in average per day of time for myself. So if we have 24 hours a day, up to sort of 3-4 hours a day for myself, and that is what I block in my calendar as my exercise time. Or if I'm injured or sick, then I may meditate or doing some easy walking or something, but it's my time for myself in order to show up at the best for everything else. And I actually think that we have our mind is working also when we're exercising and having that time for ourselves. So in my case, then, being an entrepreneur and being in business, when I'm in front of the computer, I'm on the email, I'm on phone calls or Zoom calls, meetings here and there, then I'm sort of the manager, I'm the administrator working inside the business. But when I'm out there exercising and so on, then I'm more the CEO. It's strategic mindset. It's when the big creativity kicks in. Right after those exercises is when I have the big ideas. This big problems I had, they are solved through these exercise, and clarity comes when I've had them. So it's important to get that distance. It's almost like I get two people, two different minds that are doing different things for the same mean. As long as I'm clear what my purpose and goals are in my life, what I want to achieve, then they are solved through this. So it's about showing up at my very best for everything. That's what sport and exercise do. And one more important thing here: the most of the sport I do also with a team. I train with some athletes here who are training and preparing for the triathlon in Olympics and Asia Games and so on. So I train with the best, and they are 17 to 21 years old. So I'm almost 3 times as old as some of them. And those are the ones I train with here. I get very inspired by them, and it's just a good reminder that again, that even that as I'm approaching 50, you can still compete and train at a reasonably high level, and that keeps me young going.
hmm and you mentioned something very important, right? Training with a team. Do you think having that community, having that group, um, helps us succeeding in life, right? Because your book, you talk about that, right? Executives that are alone, and I think that helps a lot. So, for example, a lot of the athletes that are listening to us, they are international student athletes, right? So they go through times that they are by themselves, and it happened to me as well, and it still happens. I'm just learning a little bit how to deal with the loneliness. Do you think that finding a group, finding people that are mind liked, helps in terms of succeeding?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, belonging to a community or a team is just so important. We need that at all ages. I mean, at the end of the day, we are social human beings. We need that social interaction, and it's great to, learn from each other and share, and building up some trust between us. We can share best practice and go through good times and bad times, cheering on each other when it's good. But when we are facing setbacks, we have some good connections, people who will be there for care for us, who can give us some advice and tips, because most likely, if you're injured, for example, the setbacks and disappointment that comes with that, especially if it's something as big as training for an Olympics, it might be something that you only have a go at once or 2 or 3 times in your life. And if you then are getting sick or injured and you cannot do it, then if you do that and deal with all those emotions by yourself, it's very, very, very difficult. It's much easier, at least if there's a team there who can show some sympathy and so on. So I balance the exercise I do by myself to get my own time with definitely being part of the community and the team as well.
Hmm. Awesome. Yeah, I agree 100%. Um, in your experience, working with executives, working with athletes, being involved with a lot of different causes, um, what what role do you think the mindset plays in someone being successful?
I think it's have to do with so much. I mean, there's a lot of people who don't take ownership for their own life and who blame everything else but themselves. They blame other people, institutions, governments, and they seem to put their own destiny and life in the hand of others. I'm a big believer of taking responsibility for our own life, and things are that they are. It's a lot of things that are outside our control in the world. And yes, there will be disappointment. Yes, there will be people who may step on your toes. And yes, there will be people you will upset with. But the only thing you can control is your response to all of this. And when we live in a social media based world, you will be constantly bombarded by messages that you may not like. So it's about opting out from that, zooming out for that, and if by accident something comes in your face, then learn how to just breathe and ignore it, and scroll through to something else, and be connected with the people that add value to your life and add value to others. So I think that's the mindset that we need to have. And that goes for personal life, it goes for the sport, and it goes very importantly also for our careers. There's people who naturally we lose the jobs and be laid off, and that can be bad luck. If a company get acquired, you get laid off, and then instead of them becoming resentful and angry at the company, the sooner we can come to a conclusion that I have to accept that this is how it is. Now it's up to me and no one else to sort this out and find something else for me. That is the mindset that I'm trying these days to have. It's not the mindset that I had in the past, and therefore I had my journey, my roller coaster journey of up and downs. But these days I'm trying to be fully in charge and responsible for my own life.
Hmm. Today, I actually, a few minutes ago, I just posted something on Instagram story saying, if you can control, let it go. I think I've been going through, and I think all of us, right? We go through a lot of um, things in our lives that we try to control, and we end up not being able to control, right? And I think when it comes to athletes, we cannot control how the other team plays. We can only control how we play, right? Or our response, how you just said as well. So, and I think it comes to a lot of self-awareness, right? Because we're gonna get mad, we're gonna get upset, right? But as you mentioned again, it's about how we respond to those things, right? So it's when we come back to ourselves, have that self-awareness, like, okay, I cannot control that, so let me just let it go. Let me focus on things that I can control. Um, and I mean, that's also how the mindset that I'm trying to do. It's not an easy one, right? It's challenging and something that you have to practice every day. Um, but and going off of that, um, a lot of stress comes with things that we can control. And then you can go to anxiety, depression, and it's also something that you talk in your book as well. Um, what are some things that people can do to deal with anxiety, depression, and stress in general?
Yeah, thank you for highlighting that. And indeed, there is a lot of people who are very anxious and stressed and even falling into depression. I did it myself. And as it happened a few years ago, I desperately needed some change in my life. I was not happy with my career and so on. But the issue was the way I dealt with all of these setbacks was not in a good way. I did it by myself. I didn't reach out. I didn't ask for help or deal with it with professionals, and I made a mess out of things. It ended me up also falling into divorce and falling into a big depression. I turned it over to alcohol. So at that time, I changed my gym membership for a bar stool, and with that, I lost my healthy diets. It turned into fast food, and I gained a lot of weight. And with that, I felt myself, really down. So that's something that I then analyzed, and also I looked into other people who have also lost their good health and fallen into addictions and so on. And what I found was the issue is that so many of us, um, have an ego where we are scared to be exposed. If we have some challenges or issues in our life, we do the best to cover it up. And I call it a smiling depression in my book, that the bigger the pain inside, the bigger the smile on the outside. Because if you constantly smile and you're happy on the outside, people think that everything is good. So they're not going to expose you. They're not going to ask you anything. So that was me. I was trying to show up at the bar, drinking, being jolly, being happy on the outside and so on. But then, I got a double hangover after, because that was not me. And instead of opening up then to my friends at the bar about the challenges I had, I was just trying to forget the issues that was going on. So what I learned these days is the best key here is to be authentic, to take ownership, and be honest to yourself, and then think after that, who can I discuss these challenges with? And it could be with coaches, mentors, very close friends, sponsors, teachers, or anyone else. It's also a lot of anonymous support organization, volunteers who are there to help, therapists, psychologists. The list really goes on the support. The issue is that if we don't seek that support before it's too late, and once we start going down the path of just trying to think that we have the answers ourselves, we are already losing the game.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, and besides, seeking that support from all these people that I think we can find if we look, what are some other strategies that you did in order to come out of that situation, right? In order to get out of that depression and the situation that you were. Is
Yeah,
it
so
like meditation? I don't know, any like journaling? I know that a lot of people do that. Any practical strategies that you did?
since I had picked up an alcohol addiction during this time, and by the way, this Sunday is 6 years since I had my last drink. So I became honest with the issue. I realized it had become a problem. I was no longer just social drinking. I was drinking also if I was stressed and so on, and that to me was a signal that something is wrong here. So I took ownership for that, and I was seeking help. And I then went to one of the support groups where people who had had issues with alcohol in the past were there, and they were helping me. So I learned a lot through that world of recovery, and a few things that stood out for me, and if I highlight these in the book. And the first step that stood out was to take stock, and I was asked really to get pen and paper or a spreadsheet and just make a list of all the issues I had in my life at that point. So it was just to dump everything there, including then that I was overweight, including that I did not exercise. I had lost my job. I was in a divorce. I had hurt people. I had said things I didn't want. My finances was in bad shape, and I had to just really take stock and just get it all down. It's like a moral inventory. And if we think about the shop, if you think about someone who owns a shop, they would do a stock count or audit every day, every week, or every month, or at least once a year, so you know what's there. But how often do we actually, as human beings, stop, pause, and just do that audit for ourselves to have this black and white sort of inventory where we are?
Hmm. Yeah, that's. I think those are great. I have found um, a lot of benefits in writing, and I think people definitely should try doing that. And once you come out of the situation and then you kind of get back on track again, um, how can we maintain focus, motivated, and have some perspective of the goals that we want, so we don't fall back and go back to the place that we were before?
Yeah, so in the steps that I did then after I had done that inventory was about, looking at for each line, who can I ask for some help to solve this, right? And really to keep track of it. And I still keep my sheets and making sure I'm working on them. And then I had a heavy focus on getting healthy. And that's what I'm still working today, surrounded by coaches and living surrounded by athletes. Those are the people I want to be around. And then it's really about keeping healthy relationships and making sure that, you know, we are there to service others, and if we do something wrong, because we are humans, we're gonna do things, we're gonna make mistakes, but it's about owning them and make amends and apologize for them. And what I mean is that we live in this fast-paced world where it's instant messaging, there's emails, and we're multitasking. It's easy to send something by mistake. Someone might have sent you a message that meant a lot to them. They might be in a space where they really need your time, but you are rushing between sessions or meetings. You send a quick reply, and it might come out a little bit wrong. They might misunderstand it, and suddenly you have a conflict. And then it's very important to take that back and perhaps give them a call and say, sorry, that didn't come out quite right. I was quite busy. I didn't mean that at all. And just to make it right, because if we have that mindset on an ongoing basis, and before we go to bed every day, do that stock count I was talking about before you go to bed every day, and think back over your day. Did you say something? Did you send something that were not nice, or something that you have that kind of feeling in your gut that that was not right? I should have
Mhm.
dealt with it better. Then don't go to bed, don't go to sleep without having made that amend, because you will have a disrupted sleep, and it's better to clear it day by day. So that would be my tips. And indeed, meditation, mindfulness, exercise, and a healthy diet, all of these things are vital as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I don't know if you're familiar with, but the book Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, the Rome emperor. That's kind of what he did. In the morning, he would write, how he would expect the day to be, but then at night he would go back and say, I did this good, I didn't do this good, that's something that I should improve tomorrow. And I think if we can just do a little bit of which a Rome emperor was doing, I think we can learn a lot, and we have a lot to grow as well. um Nick, what's a message that you would tell the world if you could? Let's say you have gonna have a billboard, everyone's gonna see it. What's a message, a quote? What's something that you would tell the world?
Well, it's really the message of ask for help, because it's so difficult. The most difficult thing for human being is, many people, at least I should say, is ask for help. So if you have the mindset of always ask for help, then make it into your biggest strength, which is what I do these days. I have my whole desk here full with post-it notes, and I keep writing down as soon as some issue, challenge, or some pain point come to my mind. I write it down, and then I'm going then to think, who can I call about this? Who can I write to, or can I contact? I then write the name next to that person on the list, and then eventually I clear it up. I'm reaching out, and you can really see how this ask for help then will really be your greatest strength, because it's like the whole world is at your feet. The whole world is your team. The whole world is there to support you, and most people will politely help you. Or if someone is overloaded, they might just say that I don't have time now. But I would say 8 out of 10 times people are happy to help, and they will be there for you. So my message is clear: ask for help. Don't sit it on everything by yourself.
Hmm. And I love that, and I agree 100%. But I would like to explore that a little bit deeper, because I feel like a lot of people have a hard time asking for help because they feel that nobody cares. They feel that nobody will help them, right? They feel like they're lonely, like their family doesn't help, they don't have any friends, right? So, I mean, what you do in these cases, when people feel like truly lonely, right? Where they haven't, like, they just can't say anything, where they cannot ask for help. Is there anything that they can do? What you do in those cases?
Yeah, I think it all starts with themselves again, about taking ownership, and it's about servicing other people first, because then naturally people will be always open. I mean, if you have a service mindset, where it doesn't matter if you're a student, then go on student council, go on boards, take roles, do charity, and be of service to your community. Keep signing up for volunteer roles here, and just keep servicing communities and people, and be of service. Ask, how can I support you? How can I help you? If you do that, to 10 people you constantly ask, build up those connections. Those people will ask you back anything I can help with and so on. And your natural default will be, because you will be on a surplus, you will feel I've done and given so much, that then you will naturally not be shy to ask for help. So that's what I do. It's not just about asking for help, it's about constantly being of service and spreading your message of help. And that is something that sits at the core of everything I do these days. In fact, if anyone have heard of the recovery programs, typically they are 12 steps. And the 12 steps is actually, okay, now you're going through the first 11 steps. The 12 steps is now you have to give this back. So you learn the steps, now you have to take someone else through the steps. So that's how
Mhm.
it comes in a circle, and it goes full circle right back to you. And it's about keep giving it back, and that I'm a firm believer. And thank you for clarifying that, Igor, because if you're sitting there, someone is sitting there in self-pity and feel I have no one to ask, is no one, well, then today take action. Look at the charities around your community, go and do some social service, and you will make some fantastic friends by being of service.
Yeah, I love that view to do that. I think I didn't think about that, but I think it helps a lot. And I feel like everyone that was a volunteer before, when they were doing a work, they probably felt something really good, right? Even if you don't need any help from anyone, you're just doing because you have to. So in my old school, we had um, to go give food for homeless people in downtown, and sometimes we didn't want to be there, but once we were there and we saw how happy these people were, it was crazy. It was a feeling that you can describe, right? So I think um sometimes just going to those charities and just doing some type of work, it's already enough. And like you said, you're gonna have a lot of friendship, you're gonna create a lot of network there that they're gonna help you back. So yeah, I love that. um Nick, thank you so much for sharing all of that. Where can people find you on social media? Are you on social media? Are you on LinkedIn? What's your username there so people can connect with you? And where's your book available?
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show, Igor. I really enjoyed this valuable conversation, and I hope some of the listeners found value in it. And if they want to look at me up, LinkedIn, indeed, I'm on Nick Jonsson. That's NickJonsson. If they want to check out my book, it's Executive Loneliness. It's the name of the book. It's on Amazon, but also as an audiobook on Audible. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Nick, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time. I hope you have a good run later today. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.